As far as the interview itself, how was it structured? Was it done as a group or one-on-one?
Oh, but it just
Yeah,
depended.
each school is different.
So what was the worst experience you had as far as interview?
Probably my first one. It's Nebraska.
What happened?
Well, it was just 3-on-1. So you sit in a conference room with 3 professors or like people from the community. And it was just the first one. Yeah, the one guy just sat on the end of the table and just stared at you.
They don't say anything there. It's just
yeah, it was
question,
awkward.
answer, and that's it.
Like one person asked like a bunch of like, you know, why do you want to be a dentist? Was like my first question, and then there was the one guy didn't say anything, and then the other guy was just asking just random questions like, oh, you're from Minnesota, you know, do you do any fishing and all this stuff. So each person had their role in the interview. It was,
Good cop, bad cop.
yeah.
Have you heard any horror stories about any of your friends or classmates that had their feet put to the fire or some horrendous?
I had a really weird one in I don't know if you guys have any other ones, but my interview in Colorado was bad. The guy, I don't know if I told you about it, but the guy was like, he asked me something simple like, why do you want to be a dentist? And I'd answer it just like I did at any other interview, and they'd be at other interviews they'd be like, oh, that's really good answer, but he was like, well, why do you say that? And he'd be looking off somewhere else, and then I'd answer that, and then he'd be like, it's an interesting statement, why do you say that? And like it went on for a half hour, like the same question in a circle, like we went, and then he was like, okay, that's good, and he walked out. I was like, and then he was trying to tell me that he got a little it was a little personal because he was asking about parental income and stuff like that, and I was like, I don't know if I feel comfortable asking like that kind of stuff, but then he got all, I don't know, it was just weird. Like,
that sounds.
I didn't think they were supposed to ask about your parents' income. And
Yeah,
stuff.
they asked about that too in Colorado.
It's kind of something they're not supposed to.
Asked about your family income?
Well, it's mostly about your background, I think, is the idea.
Okay.
Just that's an easy way to put a number on it.
I see.
And he was like, I told both my parents were teachers, and like, I was like, if teachers make average living, he's like, was that why you want to be a dentist, to make a lot more than them? And I was like, no.
It's like setting you up for failure.
Yeah. But,
Did any of you get asked ethical questions? Anything that was charged, controversial, political, anything?
I actually don't think we get asked too many questions like med students. Like, you know how they get like, oh, what do you think about this current issue? I didn't get any
Yeah, I
of
didn't
that.
get really a good current issue. I got at Marquette, one lady asked me like if some
Someone was in pain?
25-year-old, no, it was the 25-year-old girl that wanted all of her teeth pulled.
Oh yeah, I
She
got
had
that.
great teeth. If she came in, she insisted on having all of her teeth pulled. You know, would you do it? Kind of a thing.
Sure.
I got the same question
At Marquette or a different school?
at Marquette.
Okay. So maybe that's a standard question for their interview.
For
I got that one too.
For that interview.
Yeah?
what do you say to that?
What did I say? I said like that I would strongly encourage her not to, but I can't say no because she's the patient.
Right. I
But
was like,
you can refuse to do the treatment though.
right.
Well,
She's gonna go somewhere else and do it
Yeah.
anyway. I feel like.
Yeah, well
That's what I
you can counsel her a little bit.
That's what I was. That's
But
what
I would
told her.
rather
I was like,
not
I
do
would
it.
sit her down and be like, hey, look, you got great teeth. We don't need to pull them all out.
After looking back on your interviews, do you think that there was any common theme that was touched on by most of the schools or most of the interviews that you had?
They asked about service.
yeah.
Mm-hmm. Diversity and community service.
Yeah, they asked about diversity in every single one of my interviews.
Diversity.
Like, why is it important to have like a class full of people from all over the states, or even from different countries or from different backgrounds? And
Okay.
why is that important in the class?
Most people think diversity is like your ethnic background, but they want like diverse majors, diverse families, but diverse like hobbies, everything.
How about volunteer activity? Who did volunteer undergraduate stuff? And what kind of things did you do?
I did a pretty wide variety. I'm in the honors program, so it's required if you have a tuition waiver. So, I mean, I had to do a structured amount every semester anyway. So
Okay.
I talked about the Humane Society, so it wasn't even anything dentistry related in my interview. So
I was in football, so we had to do, a set amount every year. So,
Okay.
like anywhere from like reading books to kids at the elementary school over the lunch hour, or sandbagging. We did a lot of sandbagging stuff. So.
Okay.
And I'm in a Greek house, so we're required to do volunteer hours too. And So I talked about having to volunteer with them and everything, and then I did a mission trip to Australia last summer. So
Okay.
I talked about that a lot, and I put that into my personal statement, and they asked me a lot of questions about that. So I'm really glad I did that.
Was it a dental related trip or something
Nope.
else?
Just
Humanitarian or
Mhm.
otherwise? Okay. You went to Costa Rica.
Yeah, that was the big one I talked about.
Okay. What about you?
Yeah, I did a lot more small scale, probably more like what Alex did, you know, the Relay for Life, the ALS walk, bell ringing, working at the mission, soup lines. I actually know one of the ladies that works downtown. She runs the Mountain Brook shelter downtown.
Okay.
And so I spent a lot of time down there, even just playing pool with them, helping out during Christmas dinners, Thanksgiving dinners, that kind of thing. I mean, they ask you all about all of it. It doesn't have, I mean, great that like Drew and Nora got to have those huge experiences, but sometimes, I mean, if you're unable to afford it or anything like that, don't feel like you have to be pressured to do it. If you can, obviously it's a great experience, do it, but the little things count too.
Sure.
Yeah, I think it's almost as important to be involved in your local community
Yeah.
as it is to do a global
That was
issue
a,
sort of
yeah,
thing.
yeah.
that was a common thing, like when I said, and that, like, they're like, great, this trip you did was awesome, but they're like, what do you see in the US that, like, they're like, we need a lot of work here too, why'd you decide to go there? Like, stuff like that, and that catches you off guard, but.
Sure.
Mhm.
It sounds like from the medical student group, the common theme is everybody's done some type of volunteer work. Everybody's done something besides study, and everybody else. A lot of people have done research. Did you find that across the board when you traveled and
Yeah.
talked to other
Yeah.
applicants?
A lot of dental students I noticed had a lot of them were hygienists or assistants
Yeah,
or
coming back.
Yeah.
nurses, or some of them had their own small businesses started, like distributors of dental equipment. Like there was a lot of diversity with that.
That's probably why you gotta get some life experiences so you can keep up with that. Because when you're competing against a lady that, oh, I've been a hygienist for the last 5 years, you're like, well, I got a bio degree. Like,
I've had my teeth cleaned 5 times.
got
Do you-
no cavities.
Did you interview with dental students? Were they part of your process of getting accepted where you traveled?
Mine wasn't.
Not the same group.
They ate lunch with us. and stuff.
Yeah, we had, I think Marquette had, you gotta sit in a room with 3 kids.
Oh,
or
yeah,
2
you did.
kids, and you just got to ask them whatever you wanted to.
Okay, so you kind of interviewed them as opposed
Yep.
to vice versa.
Yep.
Yeah.
yeah, and they kind of. I don't think that they told us that the students would tell like the admissions or whatever, like who they liked and who they didn't, but the students
Oh, yeah,
told
I
us that.
I don't think it really has a huge bearing on.
Well,
either.
no, but
It's
I know
just-
that the students like do talk to them anyway. At least at Marquette they did.
Yeah.
Maybe about just negative things rather than
Well,
who was
yeah.
the best.
Probably to pick outliers.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. So, how would you tell somebody how to stand out? If you were going to tell your best friend who's applying to dental school next year how to stand out from all the other people applying, what sort of advice would you give them?
I'd say just be yourself in the interview. Give genuine answers. You don't want to fall into the they've interviewed a lot of these people interview 200 kids, so that you're gonna get a set the generic answer. Try to be genuine. Give something that. Like I think at Marquette they asked if there was one other thing I could do besides be a dentist, and I said I'd want to be a Top Gun pilot because I've always wanted to fly. So
Yeah.
I just and she laughed at me. I was like,
I think
Looks
they
like
left
you're
it
gonna be a
in
dentist.
the middle. I
Yeah.
said zookeeper.
oh okay.
Okay, so they asked the same question of you at Marquette as well?
Mhm.
They must ask us all the same question.
Yeah, I'm
Yeah.
sure. Well, they had sheets.
Yes.
Okay.
Each interview
Okay.
had a sheet of questions.
Freaked me out.
Did you go to Marquette?
No.
Things to, go ahead.
Sorry, I have another thing to input there. I would say start young in college, because like I joined the Greek system when I was a freshman, and they asked me so many questions based off that, and like it really, I think it helps my social interactions. Like I'm not the same person I am when I came to college. I'm a lot more social, and they want to see like how you interact with people, and they just ate that up that I was in a house. And,
Okay. Any trouble getting time off to do your interviews with tests, class? Any troubles?
Freshman level classes.
Freshman level classes?
I did, yeah. Mine had to go to the couple people up so I could get off my
Oh.
ceramics class.
I had to take
Oh,
one.
jeez.
I had to take one.
No, they wouldn't let me go because you can only miss like 2 classes a semester, and I had to miss like 4 or 5.
Yeah, I just talked to my jewelry making professor, and I was like, "Hey, I'm bailing." He's like,
I had to pass fail anthropology because she didn't let me nice.
Yeah,
Sure.
gosh.
And I just had foot surgery, so I was in ceramics, but I couldn't do anything, and then I had time off from work anyway, so that was actually really convenient.
That's an interesting theme. You mentioned ceramics, and I know you took jewelry making. Is that something
I
that
took,
you,
I took both.
Yeah.
Yeah.
is that for the technical skills because you're going to be working with these materials?
Yeah,
They
and
wanna
dexterity.
see it.
But they want to see that.
I
Interesting.
think that class is, well, jewelry making, that was great. I haven't taken
I had a lot of
ceramics.
fun with that class.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
think that'd be a #1 class for people to take for if they want to go to dental school. I think
Yeah.
it'd be good to take.
Yeah.
Some kind of audiovisual jewelry. Did you follow up with the schools after your interviews? Did you send them thank yous or emails or
I
contact
sent all
them?
my thank yous.
Thank yous?
Thank yous.
Yeah.
Written or email or
Written.
written?
And all the interviewers and the contact. Like
Okay.
the administrative assistants that were there too.
I didn't think.
You sent them a check. You sent them a check. That was
Yeah.
enough.
Here's your check for $1,000.
With thank you on the bottom.
My sister told me to send out like my thank yous, just like outrageous ones. So I got like these bright green, like neon green, like thank you notes, so that they can like remember, like, oh my gosh, like I remember that girl.
Yeah.
Like, you can
Nora
pick
went
out
legally
something
blonde.
Yeah.
I didn't spray perfume on
No,
them,
you
but
didn't.
Little lip marks on there.
it got me.
Kisses.
Lipsticks on the back. Yeah. Probably the same as the application. Is there any resources for people who need help to get on the interviews, to get to where they need to go? Is it just student loans or family? Is that how you finance your
Family.
trips?
Family and
Loans.
personal money.
Loans, okay. So after you got accepted, did you accept from multiple schools and then decide and cancel, or did you just accept the one and turn down any other offers you got, or how did you do that or approach that?
I just accepted one. It was the first one I got into, was my top choice.
Okay.
So I didn't need to. That's why I canceled so many interviews or didn't go on them.
If you would have not gotten that notification until 2 months later, would you have accepted the ones that came in before?
Yeah, and I probably would have gone on more interviews. So.
You
Okay.
can't really accept, if you accept more than one, it's non-refundable, so you have to pay, and they're each $1,000
Yeah.
compared to the
Okay.
100 for med school.
So it's
Yeah.
different.
Some of them are up to like 1,500 or 2,000. They give you like a month after they tell you got in to send it, and then usually there's a little grace period. I found out like another month, but they just don't tell you that. And then if you don't send it, then you're basically, they throw your application away. So
Okay.
And even if you just have to float $5,000, that's kind of a lot.
Yeah.
So.
That was a lot.
Well,
even if
in
we-
the scheme of things, it's not. Then.
No, but
Yeah.
but right now it kind of matters.
Yeah.
Okay. So you get accepted at school C and you're A choice, you haven't heard yet. Do you contact them
I would.
I think so.
and just ask them the status of your interview, or
Yeah.
so just imagine you're on the phone with that person. What would you say to them? Imagine if they passed you to a dean instead of just a secretary. How would you approach that conversation?
I don't know.
Yeah.
Can I talk to the
I was
secretary,
wondering
please?
You have
Yeah.
to get your best Norwegian accent, and then then it's like butter. They like it. So.
Oh,
Yeah,
gosh.
in all 3 places I went, they asked me to do the Fargo accent for the
Ask me
movie.
if I was from Canada.
Awesome. So, do you think that family ties or alumni ties had any bearing on any of the schools that you were granted interviews to, or your acceptance to the school you ended up at? If you have any family members that went there?
They say it's not supposed to.
Yeah.
Not
I didn't have
supposed to?
anything.
Okay.
You
Yeah,
did
I
no
that.
family.
didn't have anything.
I think it does.
You're the outlier.
Yeah.
So.
I think it definitely helped. Well, at all my interviews, they asked me if I was going to go to Minnesota because of my grandpa, and I told them I was just open to their school too.
Sure.
I was really excited about it. But,
Yeah.
yeah, I don't know. I think it had a reason why. That was a reason why I went to U of M, but part of it.
My wife is a dentist, and she interviewed at the U of M. And when she went to the interview, they said, "You're in. Let's just talk about other stuff." And because Grandpa went there, and so that helped her greatly, I'm sure.
I interviewed at Iowa, and one of their questions kind of threw me off guard because I had said that both of my sisters were in medical school, and they asked me why I wanted to go to dental school instead, and they asked me if that was because I just like wanted to be different, or like it was kind of just a weirdly question. I don't know. I didn't really know what to say. I'm like, going my own way, I guess.